So last week we already did our flip through. Yes. Okay, let's try this again. So last week we already did our flip through for book 3, and today we're going to go ahead and jump into book 4. So if you didn't catch the last video, I am currently doing flip throughs for the Charlotte Mason Elementary Arithmetic series. It seems like other people have already put out flip throughs for books 1 and 2, but for some people it's been a little bit harder to find flip throughs for the rest of the books. We don't currently have book 5. It's something that I'm going to be ordering shortly. Whenever I get that in, I can also do a flip through of it. But for today, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to jump in to book 4. One of the things that is different about book 4 is that there are not those little ribbon bookmarks that are in the others. I'm not sure why, or at least in my copy, it doesn't have it. I don't know if the rest do. Maybe that was, I don't know, some sort of error and mine just didn't get them. But book 4 of mine, at least, does not have the ribbons. And so we've been using some of like the little postcards that they send with their orders that have art on it. We use that as our bookmarks, which has been perfectly fine. It is slightly more convenient with the ribbons, but it's all good anyway. Okay, so really quickly, going over the table of contents here. So there are going to be those introductory pages, just like last time, and it'll kind of talk to us about the concepts that are going to be covered in book 4. There'll be an overview of the lessons, what they'll be like, and so far these are all pages for you as the parent. Supplies needed are also for you as the parent, and then we're going to go ahead and get into the lessons for our kids. So addition and subtraction, multiplication, division, decimals, weights and measures, and then after that you're going to have some extra practice type stuff. So the extra mental arithmetic and oral review, extra written review, and then there are also exam questions that you can use, and also in the back of this book are the answers for everything. It does structure it a little bit differently than book 3 because book 4 focuses more on having independent work after each lesson, whereas book 3 didn't really have that as much. And so it puts answers in the back so that they're not right there in front of your child as they're working on their independent work. Okay, so here is a closer in-depth look of all of the concepts that are covered in book 4. And we have these on the back as well. Okay, then it's gonna walk you through the overview of the lessons. Like I said, it does focus on a good bit of independent work each lesson. You might just be doing like a sample problem with them, and then afterwards they're gonna be working on a lot of it on their own. I also don't know if I showed this last time in the front of book 3, but it always gives kind of like a suggestion of what lessons to cover to get the book done by the end of the school year if you need that as well. Okay, so a quick flip through of the lessons. Okay, so now we'll go in and look at how the lessons are structured. For our example lesson, we'll go to long division with a remainder. So this is in a larger section specifically on long division. And at this point, they've been working with it for a while. And now we're moving on to having long division with a remainder. So far up until this point, they've mostly been doing problems that end up not having a remainder at the end. And now they're going to start working with a remainder. You will see this little note at the top of the lesson that says to be worked in the math notebook. You will find that in book 4, you start having your child work a lot more in their notebook, whereas before, most of it was done with manipulatives and then you would just write some of it in the math notebook. Each book kind of gets a little bit more focused on the written and less on the manipulatives. So you'll still have some manipulatives in book 4, but you're doing a lot more written work here. Each of the lessons usually does have tips included as well. For example, in this one, the tip is just to remember that they're just still learning long division and learning how to work with it. So then we as parents need to be available during these lessons for them, just because it's a fairly new concept for them still. So this lesson comes right after the one where they are being introduced to remainders. So it starts off with doing short division with a remainder. They've been learning long division already at this point, and then they're just going to kind of go back to doing short division for a moment while they learn about remainders to make it a little bit simpler. So they are already introduced to the concept of what a remainder is here. And now we're going to go ahead and go back into doing long division with a remainder. So in this section, since they've already been introduced to both long division and remainders, there aren't sample problems. It just goes right into doing sums with your child. So the first one says, Captain Silver has 1,720 gold coins. He shares them equally amongst himself and his crew, a total of 7 pirates. Then he keeps any remainder for himself. How many coins does each crew member receive? How many extra coins does Captain Silver take? So in this lesson, it's going to be all word problems. They're going to set those up in their math notebook. You're going to be right there with them as they are working them out and checking over their work and seeing what remainders they've ended up with. It has the answers for the first 2 problems here. And then for the rest, it always gives you a little note of where you can find the rest of the answers. In this case, they're on page 316. So if you find that your child is working really well with these problems and isn't having a lot of difficulty with it, then you could go ahead and just do the first couple of problems sitting there with them and then assign the rest on their own, and those answers won't be right there for them. They'll be in the back of the book. And then usually after each section, it will go into a review. So in this case, there was a review of subtraction with longer rows of figures here. And the answers for that are all here. And this is a review that's to be given orally, so it's not one that your child is doing on their own. So because of that, it does make it easier for you and give you the answers right down here at the bottom. Since long division with a remainder is something that they might need a lot of practice with, then there is a second lesson also that is long division with a remainder with some mixed review afterwards, keeping those other skills up. Long division with remainder using pure numbers. So then in this lesson, we are not doing word problems. It's just giving pure number here to work with the long division. And that takes us into the next section of decimals. So that should kind of give you like the basic idea of book 4, how it's set up, what the flow is like. If you want to go ahead and watch my other video on book 3, I did a little bit more with that one and showed kind of a little bit more in depth what it's like and how these books are just generally set up. But this should at least give you kind of like the basic gist of what's going on in book 4. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. I will link the books as well as my last video down in the description box if you're interested in those. And I will catch you guys next time. Bye.